Hi, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight Podcast, powered by CKREU. I'm your host, Sarah Brookbank. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Chris Pavese. He shares how Gemba Services helps leaders unlock their organization's full potential. We are also joined by Diana Small of MRA. She highlights their HR services and their in-person roundtable happening later this month. Thank you to our podcast sponsor, CKREU, Google and Amazon advertising experts. Now let's go hear from that sponsor, meet our members of the week, and I'll be back with this week's guests.
Ranking on Google Search and Maps is easy to understand, but hard to do. It requires constant effort and attention, uploading new photos, responding to Google reviews, writing weekly posts, and checking suggested updates. Google listing optimization takes experience and time, and there are no shortcuts. CKREU gives your Google My Business account the steady, consistent attention it needs to be effective, optimizing, updating, and expanding critical content every single week. From local retail stores to large regional networks, CKREU generates content, establishes benchmarks, and creates dramatic, measurable increases in engagement. So what can CKREU do for your business? More calls, more clicks, more clients.
Congratulations to our members of the week. You can learn more about these businesses by following the Northern Kentucky Chamber on social media, where we highlight one of these businesses each day. Now, let's meet our members of the week. Jabil Florence, CVG campus, is a leading advanced technology manufacturing site within Jabil's global network. Merck Injury Law is dedicated to helping individuals and families navigate difficult times after accidents and injuries. Summerside Pools is more than just a pool builder. They're passionate creators of outdoor spaces that bring families together with over 20 years of experience. Cornerstone Insurance is a locally owned property and casualty insurance agency licensed in all 50 states, specializing in commercial property, casualty, and personal insurance. Modus Freight is a brokerage firm that helps customers get their goods from point A to point B and oversees all the details in between. Hi, everyone. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Chris Pavese of Gemba Services. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, great to be on here. Thank you.
I'm very excited to have you. Before we jump into the nitty-gritty of all of the things that you do, introduce us to Gemba Services. What are your services? How did you get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So Gemba, the name comes from some engineering training around lean processes, and Gemba is a Japanese term meaning the place where value or the place where value is created. And so within lean processes, the theology of getting out of the office or getting out of the boardroom and into the production floor. And so that's sort of the root of the name. And then the services that we provide are cultural scorecards, executive leadership, and DISC assessments. And so combining those together, we work hand in hand with the executive staff to find a baseline and then to put together a strategic plan that then goes forward with making improvements within the company's culture, ideally working on communication breakdowns and addressing 10 different characteristics.
Yeah, really important stuff when you're working with leaders. And you mentioned cultural scorecards.
Yes.
You mentioned culture. I know that's a really big part of this. But Gemba and engineering and different things, your background is really interesting how you got to this point. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I started off in the Navy as an electrician, got out, was working in IBEW as an electrician while going to school at night for engineering, and then ultimately was forced to finish school because the GI Bill was about to expire after 10 years. So I went 100% to school, ended up getting my engineering degree and a minor in international business, which meant an excuse to go travel and study in Florence, Italy for a year through Gonzaga University. And that sort of set up the dual track of business mindset along with engineering. Shortly after that, I joined a large company based out of Chicago and began my master's. And then along that path also said it needs to be a dual master's, just like the bachelor's. So I have a master's in organizational leadership, which is typically an HR degree with a concentration in communication. And then the second one is a master's in transmission distribution, which then fed into the utilities, which was my day job. And then that ended up getting me pulled out of the field and into a corporate position where I was leading teams and responsible for developing future aspiring leaders.
Yeah, and so then we get the founding of Gemba Services and all the work that you're doing. So tell us a little bit about the why. Why you founded Gemba?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this work?
Absolutely. So one of the things I noticed as a result of COVID when we went 100% remote was that disconnect and the interactions. And, here we are 5, 6 years later, and we're seeing the ramifications of that. We're seeing that you no longer have those personal connections. So even in my consulting engagements, I'm noticing if I go to an office and I visit, whether it's in Knoxville or Nashville or Indianapolis, it's a different environment than if I'm scheduling a monthly Teams meeting with a team member that's in Pennsylvania or Colorado or California or somewhere. It's that personal connection, and part of that personal connection is those soft skills, having a conversation, reading the body language. It's very hard when it's 2D on a screen, when people are easily distracted with screens and other media, at their home office environment. And so part of that then feeds back into the culture. Why do I want to be in the office? Is there any benefit to me being in the office? I feel like I'm being forced to be in the office. Is there any perks to be in the office? So all those sort of answering the whys ultimately comes down to, let's assess the culture at the business, at the company. Is there a difference between the office in Nashville and the office in Nebraska? Mm-hmm. Right. And I keep picking on Nashville, but a lot of businesses in Nashville. But it could even be between Cincinnati and Indianapolis. They're an hour apart, but they could have two different complete cultures, even though owned by the same company.
Yeah. And that culture thing, you mentioned the pandemic really kickstarted this. And that is a really big thing that we even now, years later, are dealing with when we have hybrid work, when we have people that are fully remote, some people are remote, some people are fully in office. So you come in and you want to figure out the culture fit, the culture gap, and you create a cultural scorecard. Tell us about this process. Tell us how this works.
Yeah. It's a 20-minute online assessment that uses both Likert scale and open dialogue. We analyze that, and then we create a scorecard, and that establishes our baseline. We work with the executive team and say, here's the 3 lowest. Are those your priority? Here's your 10 different metrics, and which ones do you guys want to work on? Put together a strategic plan. At the same time, we're also doing DISC assessments. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, like I said, most of this stuff comes back to communication. So it could be respect, could be communication, or could be accountability, could be fun. One of the metrics on there is fun, and communicating what my fun is different than what your fun is. Like I said, sometimes people have their own opinion of. I think fun is lunches are provided and we have foosball in the middle of the office. Other people's idea of fun is we get off an hour early on Thursday and we go and get to have an after office activity as a team, so more team building. So we dial in that, and then, like I said, each individual location could have its own culture. Yeah. And oftentimes that could be led by the location leader as to what, again, their activities are. We put together that strategic plan. We have the DISC assessments to work on the communication, and then put those together, and we build out a workshop. Yeah. The workshop is interactive and engaging. We touch a little bit on some situational awareness, especially around the communication styles. Yeah. So one communication style could be, I like just the bullet points. Another communication style, I want all the details. Mm-hmm. And so in situational awareness training, you put people in the wrong situation on purpose so that they get that rub and they know what it feels like not to be connecting. And we do that in DISC, where we do the same thing. And we starve the person who wants details of details. And they're like, this is very uncomfortable to me. And then we do the opposite, where we give the person who only wants the bullet points all the details. And they're like, this is uncomfortable. Yeah. And what happens out of that workshop is people come out of that saying, okay, now I know what irritates me. I know what irritates you. And now going back to the office on Monday, we can then start working on me communicating to you in your communication style.
Yeah, I think communication is one of the most important skills. I know we just had, at my work, we had a thing where it was like, okay, on a scale of like this to this, where do you sit? And I remember just sitting in the room, I mean, there were 15 of us, and I was like, oh, well, that makes so much sense. This person is like my question asker.
Yes.
This person is my bullet point person. I'm a bullet point person. You can give me all the details, but I really, at the end of the day, I'm going to need the bullet points.
Yeah.
When you go into these businesses, when you're working with these companies, what are some of the most important things that you're looking for when you're like, okay, can we fix these problems?
Yeah, like I said, it starts at the top. So I have 3 screening questions. It must start at the top. So these screening questions are for the leader, which oftentimes is the CEO, president, office manager, whoever it is that's wanting to improve the culture. But it starts off with, is culture important to you? Mm-hmm. 99% are going to say yes. The 1% that say no, that's a screen out question. Yeah. There's nothing we can do for you. If it's not important to you, then I'm not going to waste our time, right? Second one is, how do you measure culture? And the number one response I get often is, well, we track retention numbers. I'm like, excellent. Unfortunately, that's a reactive number. Mm-hmm. And let me explain that. A reactive number to measure culture through retention is like a doctor telling you have cancer after you died.
Yeah.
They did nothing to help you with extending that life or making that life better or even knocking the cancer into remission, right? So if I can get in the front of it and do a cultural scorecard now so that you know, hey, here's where our troubles are, here's where we're heading down the wrong path, let's get in front of it. One of the things that's interesting is a bunch of statistics, and I have them here and I can read them off to you, but the cost for replacing employees is a multiple of their salary. And so, again, back to the analogy of telling you after the patient's dead, right? After the employees left, that there's a problem, didn't help you at all to resolve the issue. And you now have this cost that you're incurring because now you have the lost revenue that they're gone. You have the recruiter that you're going to have to pay, and then you have the onboarding and the training before they become productive. Mm-hmm. So the ROI is there. We just need to address that question with the leadership. And then the third one is with the executive, with leadership starting at the top. Is the executive willing to make the changes to improve culture? And sometimes that could mean changes within themselves. Yeah. Because culture starts at the beginning. You're a reflection of your culture is a reflection of your leadership. And so if the culture has some sort of gap, then oftentimes that's a reflection of the gap that leader has.
Yeah, those all sound really essential. And I really liked the idea that like you have to be tracking what's going on with your culture far before the time your employees hit burnout.
Yes.
What types of KPIs for culture do you track, or do you think businesses should be tracking?
Yeah, so the few that we track are engagement. So Deloitte has a study out there, but essentially it's right around that 70% mark. If you have a low engagement, people are burnt out. People are already disengaged. People are already checked out. Mm-hmm. They're already looking for another job. Another KPI we look at is the values and the values of the company and what the company stands for, and then we measure that against the voice of the customer, or in this case, the customer is the employee, and are they in alignment? Do they understand the vision? Do they understand the values of the company, and then are they living them out? Or is there a disagreement and misalignment there? And it could come back to just, is the vision clear? Is the business doing as they say? So if it's on the wall that we respect each other, and then the office environment is toxic and the water cooler conversation is hostile, then why is that written on the wall? Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure some people who have listened to the podcast, me personally, have been in workplaces like that where you're like, oh, you say this, but you turn around and you're not doing this at all.
Right.
So, Chris, it's been great to chit chat. Bottom line, are there like 2 things that you think people can do like today to change the environment at their workplace?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we start off with measurement because, what's measured and monitored is improved. So if you have no metrics, no measurement, then how do you know if you're making any improvement, right? So that's the first one. Second one, I think, is we talk about the cultural advantage. I talked about there's a bunch of statistics I could share with you, but the cultural advantage reflects in the bottom line. If you have a strong culture, your culture walks into the room before you walk into the room. So if you have a strong culture, you have a strong brand recognition, the word on the street is that's the place to be. Everyone loves working there. You think about Google in the 90s. Everybody wanted to go to work for Google, right? So it already had this reputation before a Google sales person walked in and say, hey, we want to move all of your business processes over to a Google platform. So that's the first one is, what's measured is improved. And the second one is the value of culture in that it's measurable in the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really essential stuff for people that are maybe thinking about, what do I do? How do I improve my culture?
Right.
And for people wanting to take the next step to engage Gemba Services, to have you come in and maybe see where they are and start that baseline process, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I'm easily contactable at Chris at Gemba-services.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Gemba Services has a LinkedIn page. We do a daily thought-provoking, motivational plug. Usually it's around leadership. There's a few times that we get into the spirit of things, whether it was Easter or Veterans Day or something like that. I am a Navy veteran, so of course we are going to honor those days, as well as Labor Day and 4th of July and all of the others. Another way to engage is come attend a presentation. I'm going to be presenting at Disrupt HR, which is a Northern Kentucky Chamber event at NKU on July 8th, one of 14 presenters. I understand it's like speed dating.
Yes.
So one slide every 15 seconds or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited. That'll be a good one. Maybe I'll have to attend just to hear yours.
Yeah. And we've got some other stuff going on. I'm presenting within the circles that, I specialize in, which is engineering. So Society of Professional Engineers here in Covington, IEEE conference, and also be doing something down here with Brian Miller at the Insweiler Institute.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so a lot of engagement there where we get to go out and present on different things from turning technical strategy into repeatable team rituals that drive execution, the technical leadership gap, bridging expertise and executive vision. So a lot of catchy titles, but basically it's talking about company culture, employee retention, employee satisfaction, which then it ultimately turns into company profitability.
Yeah. Well, Chris, it has been so great to have you on. I hope some of our viewers and listeners check you out when you do your circuit. Thank you so much for your time today. It was really great to have you on the pod.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Today on the podcast, I am joined by Diana Small of MRA. Diana, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here today.
Yes. Let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about your organization. Tell us about MRA.
Awesome. So MRA is a membership-based nonprofit HR association. For those here in the greater Cincinnati area, Northern Kentucky area, we were previously known as ERA, the Employers Resource Association. And in May of 2023, we transitioned and became MRA, which is now the largest nonprofit HR association in the U.S. And we still have our local presence, which we love, which our members love. So we have an office here in greater Cincinnati, in the Sharonville area, which serves both our Northern Kentucky members and also members as far north as Dayton and a little bit north of Dayton. And then we also have a location in the Columbus area, in northern part of Columbus. So definitely Ohio-based organization where we have in-person resources, but we also have a lot of remote and virtual options as well. And we're a one-stop shop HR association. Anything under the sun in HR that you may need, from recruiting to fractional HR support, compliance, training and development, et cetera, we have it all.
Yeah, that is a great resource that you guys provide to the people that you work with. Tell me a little bit about what sets you apart from other types of HR associations.
Well, one of the things we pride ourselves on is we have a 24/7 HR compliance hotline, and it is actually answered by a human, a person within 8 seconds normally. And so we just feel that with some of our members having 24/7 operations, having that person or that contact number to lean into if you need to have a question answered, if you need guidance, support, recommendations. It's just unmatched by a lot of different types of HR options that are out there. So we take a lot of pride in that and what it does. Our thought leadership as well. We host events, whether they're virtual events or events in person. And so we really do love the fact that our team, which consists of over 220 HR professionals now, with most having, 15, 20 years experience with a variety of organizations, industries, et cetera. So there's just a team of experts to partner with our members and do provide customized approach for solving business problems.
Yeah, we know, especially in the HR field, things are changing so rapidly. We have our HR 100 group. They host events and webinars, and that's really essential to staying compliant, staying up to date. So touch a little bit more on that. I know you guys have some really exciting events happening this summer.
We do. Here locally, we have a mid-year HR law update, which we have some local attorneys joining us to present on different things that are impacting organization and the HR community, including AI and HR as well. So there's just going to be a wide range of topics. We are hosting that event at one of our members' locations because they do have an event center. So those who are familiar with Gemba Credit Union, they have a event center up in the Westchester area. So it's right off 275 or I-75, which is easy accessible no matter where you're coming from. And so that's going to be June 16th in the AM. And so we're registering individuals. Spaces are limited. So we just encourage folks to register for that as soon as possible so that they can partake in that. And everything that we offer does provide HRCI and SHRM credits. And so for those who are in need of SHRM credits, this is a great way to network with other HR professionals in addition to fulfilling some of those needs to keep your certification current.
Yeah, we
So
know
we
those
have
are
that.
important.
Yes, absolutely. And we're always having something called the talent report. Our members and non-members can take advantage of participating in the talent report, which is sharing a variety of topics in thought leadership, from change management, succession planning, AI, you name it. We're covering those topics once a month, and it is a live webinar that we do host. So just a wide range of things to offer.
Yeah, so for people that want to learn more about those events, is your website the best place to check out? Where should people look?
Yes, absolutely. On our website, you don't have to be a member to check out things on our website. And even though we are a membership-based organization, we do serve non-members as well. And so, but www.mranet.org. So www.mranet.org is our website. And you can just put in events or list the event name, and then it'll pop up in regards to how you are to register.
Yeah, that makes it nice and easy for people to find out more information about those upcoming events. Like I said, essential stuff, especially with those SHRM credits. I know we get a lot of members that need those as well. And Diana, I
Absolutely.
wanted to ask you a little bit more about MRA and the services you provide. When you're working with clients, when you're working with your members, what are some things that they say that really stands out about the services that you all provide?
Our customized approach, and we indicate we have what we call our three-legged stool. You could either utilize our DIY tools, templates, all of those things are on our website. In addition, we have a third-party option as well that has additional compliance information and tools. So our website, the third party, that all comes with membership, and the hotline, of course, as well, which our advisors would talk with folks there. We have the second leg of that stool is to train you how to do it. So whether it's a development class that we may have, and it's not just for HR, we have development for people leaders of all sorts, and so if I'm a first line supervisor or if I'm new to supervisory, or if I'm a mid-level manager, et cetera, we have more advanced level of training and development that helps individuals thrive in their career and help their organizations. And so we can teach you how to do it. And then the third leg of our stool is for us to actually do it for you. And so our members do experience a reduced rate as it relates to some of the services that, we write proposals for, whether it's a fractional HR person or our training and development. We can either come to our member site, we have training scheduled at our site, or we do have virtual training options as well. And we have e-learning options. So for harassment training that companies do every year, those sort of things, they can utilize the e-learning. So that's one of our big differentiators. In addition, just having that personalized person and again a pool of resources. We become an extension of our members and non-members company, and we come in, we assist, and then when our needs are the members' needs are met, then we just wait until that next time. So it's just a really personalized, customized approach with state-of-the-art tools and options and resources.
Yeah, that's great. So for people that have heard that and say, well, that sounds like something I need, how can people get in touch? How can people learn more?
So you can reach us through either calling our 1-800 number, which is 1-800-488-4845, and the individuals answering will connect you to one of our resources. Or also visit our website. We have several ways to reach us through the website, whether it's a QR code or a link. And again, that website address is www.mranet.org. So those are the best two ways to reach us.
Yeah, and that makes it really nice and easy. So hopefully some people will reach out and get in touch with you guys if they're needing those, really essential HR services. Diana, it has been so great to have you on the podcast. Before I let you go, is there anything else you think our members, our viewers, and listeners need to know about you all?
Well, we just truly love being part of the chamber because like the chamber, we're here to help businesses thrive. And so just the connection with local organizations and understanding what sort of issues you may have or what development needs to support your strategy and your outcomes that you're seeking. And we're truly even though we say we're human resources, this is a company membership. So whoever in the organization, our point of contact wants to give access to the tools on our website and the 1-800 number, et cetera, it is more than just an HR sources for management and people leaders within organizations as well. Outside of that, we help over 5,500 organizations throughout the U.S., which touches 1.5 million employees. And so we just really are grateful for the opportunity to help in any way that's needed for those. And finally, I'll just say, just would love to meet you in person. If for those who can attend our mid-year law event, again, it's June the 16th. Register as soon as possible. Space is limited because we all need to stay abreast of all the changes that are happening. And so we just have a great team of folks that will be there to help educate.
Yeah, well, it sounds like such a great event. And Diana, thank you so much for your time today on the podcast. It was great to have you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Thank you to our Investors Circle members. Our Investors Circle members help us promote and support the development of strong businesses and a vibrant economy in the Northern Kentucky region. Thank you to all of these members for their investment, which will help the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce in our mission to develop and grow a thriving business community. Northern Kentucky needs tailored solutions to address our housing shortage. Home for All, Northern Kentucky Housing Strategies, explores how we can retain young adults, help older residents downsize or age in place, and ensure new neighbors have housing options that fit their lives. Dive into the report at housingNKY.org. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast as we learned more about Gemba Services and MRA. Thank you once again to our podcast sponsor, CKREU, Google and Amazon advertising experts. Before I let you go, I want to highlight a number of upcoming networking events that the Chamber is hosting this month in June. First up, Fusion, a multicultural experience, is happening this week on Thursday, June 11th at the Mercantile Immersive in downtown Cincinnati. You can still register for that event, and if you want to learn more, go listen to last week's episode of the podcast. NKYP is hosting a Cocktails and Conversations event with emerging leaders of Northern Kentucky that is happening on Thursday, June 18th at the DBL Law Headquarters in Covington. And our next Women's Initiative Connect Hour is happening on Monday, June 29th at the Grapevines Wine Bar in Crittenden. And as a personal note, if you have not been down there, it is 100% worth the drive. You can learn more about all of these events and register at nkychamber.com/events. Finally, if you are a member who would like to be featured on the podcast, or if you're someone who is interested in joining the Northern Kentucky Chamber as a member, please reach out to Lynn Ablin. You can find her contact information on the screen if you're a viewer, and our listeners can find that at nkychamber.com/staff. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week.